screen if you're watching us live. I am joined each and every week by my co-hosts here on the EmpireMedia.com, that being Adam Hernandez and Josh Houselander. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Good. How are you?
Not so bad. Adam, what about you? I know you want to shoot all your technical equipment there, but let's save that rage for another time.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit here and try and figure this out. So you guys go ahead and talk and do the show while I figure this out.
While you angrily fume. Okay, sounds like a plan. Well, without further ado, we got a couple quick issues to get through here. First, on tonight's program, we got three things of a time-sensitive nature. So we would like to first give a round of applause to presidential candidate, former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke for being the AR-15 Salesman of the Month. Armalite thanks him for his service.
Stop threatening his life, Dorf. No one is.
I know. Come and take it, Beto.
Molan Love. You know what the thing is, Dorf, with that too, though, is I really think that's. I feel like a lot of these things are premeditated, and I feel like that's a party throwing out the. It's putting it out on the stoop and seeing if the cat licks it up. It's him sacrificing this.
You think about the Beto, the theory that he knows he's done. He's just trying to build up a war chest so he can run for governor in Texas in a couple of years.
Yeah.
He's allowed to keep as a political candidate any money you fundraise and use it running for an entirely different office.
I think he's going to have a hell of a time. I know they're trying to turn it into a purple state, but after that comment, I think he's going to have a hell of a time being governor of Texas. But I do think that it was a last-ditch effort, yeah. For whatever the reason may be, I think he said it to, get his name back in the news, basically.
So if you had to give Beto a nickname here, I've got one I'd like to float. So those for you who've seen Family Guy, is he the wacky waving flailing arm inflatable tube man?
I kind of like Boogaloo Beto myself.
Yeah, well, anytime you see him like doing any sort of public speaking, he's always like flailing his arms and standing on tables and stuff like that.
I'm just wondering if he just is holding this position because he's jealous because he already can't get an AR-15 because of his burglary charges.
Well, he's got a DUI, burglary, something else. I forget what it is, but yes, Beto. I also love all the boomer memes. You know, the government is here to take my guns. Well, I have to do a background check on it. I found some pretty disturbing things. I can't give you my firearm.
Yeah, I've shared a few.
So, anyway, next on our list is the planned Area 51 raid is just around the corner. Josh, what date is that exactly?
September 20th is when the raid's going to happen. I wish I was there.
That's Saturday.
Yes. This coming up Saturday is supposed to be the big boogaloo down in Nevada or over in Nevada. But I'm just wondering if it's gonna if it's gonna happen, and if it does, I'm wondering if the media is gonna downplay it, if they're gonna upplay it, if they're gonna actually report on it. I'm just curious as to what's gonna happen.
I hope they hold some sort of like Gen X meme fest that rivals like Burning Man just outside the perimeter, where they will get shot at, and that's what it turns into.
It could be. I mean, they're acting almost like, oh, it's not gonna happen after all, but all the motel rooms are still booked. All the, so people are still talking about it. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see some aliens.
You want to see them aliens?
I do. I want to see them aliens. That was one of the greatest meme wars ever.
Flying aircraft, but aliens are cool too.
Yeah, for sure.
Last but not least, the latest Biden gaffe today, in an appearance I forget where, not that it really matters. Biden touting a potential child care tax credit increase, said it would help put 750 million women back to work in the United States.
Sweet.
Well, considering there's only 330-ish million people, that math doesn't add up. So,
Yikes.
will the old man just ever take a break? I don't know. But he's still a front runner. Democrat Party, and I know that makes Adam angry and us laugh a little bit.
That is for sure. That's one of those gaffes that I know these guys read off teleprompters. I get that, all that stuff, but that's one of those ones that, don't you think that you're just, if you're in that position, you're bright enough to catch that, even if it's what the teleprompter's telling you.
I don't even think it's a teleprompter. How not sharp is Joe Biden? I mean, I understand they go and stop in like 5 or 6 different cities a day and probably give the same speech over and over, but like, bro, like, come on. Like, you can't gaff that hard and not like know what you're saying enough to like, ooh, yeah, well, I should have said 750,000, not 750 million, so my bad.
Maybe he's going to put like a bunch of China to work too.
Joe Biden making China great again.
You skipped one. Do you want to do vaping?
Yeah, I did. Go ahead.
Oh no, just vaping. Bunch of Republicans.
By the way, speaking of which, the Trump administration, the regulatory, efforts, was it the DEA or was it Health and Human Services? I don't know. It's trying to ban flavored vapes. And then all of a sudden, all the hipsters and millennials are all about the Mulan Lake crowd. So, in an effort to try and keep, would somebody think of the children's? By the way, Andrew Cuomo in New York beat him to it. Already banned flavored vapes in that state by himself.
Well, here in our home state of Michigan, Governor Gretchen Whitmer was the first to ban the flavored vapes up here, and it threw the Republicans for a loop because the Republicans up here in Michigan all started getting Molan Love about it, and then 72 hours later, Trump does it, and they're all like, "Are we for this? Are we for this, or are we against it?" I mean, God forbid they'd have their own opinion or something. But yeah, it was they were against it, and now they're maybe kind of still against it. Depends on who's asking, I guess. Well, you can take my douche flute out of my cold dead hands.
I know. I'm not the original source of this, but it does kind of look like you're giving head to C-3PO.
All right.
I'm not the original source of that. We're going to leave it at that and get into our main topic of the night, the criminal justice system specific in the United States. This is not one where, as the status of this program, would argue that we've got it pretty good, just needs some fine tweaks. Our justice system and most Western justice systems, believe it or not, are actually relics of a very old and different time where the goal was, instead of being rehabilitation and the ability to re-enter society, it was actually punishment and a way to keep all the undesirables off the streets.
Yeah.
Polite society. Well, while that is not in line with basic human rights that we believe we are afforded and are enshrined in some cases in the Constitution of the United States, the current criminal justice system does not seem to be in line with all those priorities. I don't even know where we want to really leap off from here, Josh. As someone who's never really been involved in the criminal justice system, I don't have any personal experience to draw on. I've never even gotten a traffic ticket before. I don't have any personal experience directly to draw on, but I want to, if anybody here in the room has any stories here that they'd like to share to kind of get us at a leaping off point, I'm looking forward to that now. So, anybody got anything?
I haven't even got a ticket.
Jesus
Christ.
Oh, I've definitely gotten my fair share of tickets and then some. But in fact, I got enough for both of us, Dorf. But one of the biggest problems I wasn't planning on leading with this initially, but one of the bigger problems I have is the probation parole system. And
You don't even have the cash bail thing. That was one I was going to get into later. So probation parole first. Okay, let's go.
if that's what you guys want necessarily. But I do agree, Dorf, there is this kind of fallacy that prison is supposed to rehabilitate when we know that it doesn't. We all know the stats.
It's not designed to.
No, it's not. It's not. Some would tell you otherwise, but it really isn't. In fact, basically what it does is it takes criminals and it puts them in a big room with a bunch of worse criminals and teaches them how to be better criminals. I mean, that's, in essence, a big part of what happens inside a jail, whether it be a county jail or a prison. One of the things that, to me, that I feel like gets lost on us isn't so much the old stat that they give about the United States having the largest prison population. That, to me, I feel like is, in some ways, that stat's kind of bogus. Because although I oppose this stuff, I'm a big liberty guy, I oppose the vast majority of laws that are out there. Especially minor laws. I think they're stupid for the most part. I think drugs should be legal. I think many things should be legal. But that are really just none of anybody's business. But the idea that the United States has more people in jail than any other country, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. If they all deserve to be in jail, then maybe the U.S. is just better at catching their criminals than other countries. I don't think that's true, but that could be what that stat is revealing. Yeah, I mean, that could be what that stat is revealing. You know, that they're better at catching the bad guys. You know, everybody's got bad guys, they're better at catching them. I don't think that's true, but, you know, is what it is. There isn't... What kind of, to me, gets lost in some of this is the idea that the punishment should fit the crime. Now, that's not something right out of the Constitution or anything, but I think it's a basic idea that in our system is now completely lost. The idea that the punishment should fit the crime. Now, to me, you murder somebody, you rape somebody, first-degree murder, first-degree rape, there isn't a long enough prison sentence for that. You know? There really isn't. And to me, the reason why I have such a problem with the parole system, and even more so with the probation system, is this idea that when you are on parole or you are on probation, you are subject to a complete loss of liberty because you are there in lieu of jail. So, in essence, for a very small crime, you can be on probation for years sometimes. And once you are in that system, it is so hard to get out of that system. You are stuck in there. You are stuck in a rut. It's financially debilitating. It ruins families. And truth be told, you probably committed a victimless crime when you have done this. But you're stuck in there for so long. And this happens to tens of thousands of people throughout the country. And they sell people on this with the idea that, well, hey, we're not giving you jail time. Like, what's the problem? You committed a crime. You're convicted of it. And you're what? You're going to spend 2 nights in jail? That's no big deal. Who cares? But then you're in this system where your liberties are completely stripped. So in essence, you've committed this misdemeanor and you have 2 years in jail. You say, oh, no, you're not in jail. You're just on probation. But probation's in lieu of jail. So your liberties are completely stripped in such a way that basically what they're telling you is, yeah, you're still in jail. You still have no liberty, no rights. But, yeah, you still need to go to work every day. And you still better be a productive member of society. And you still better do X, Y, and Z to keep yourself above water. So basically what they're doing is, you're in jail, but that whole thing where we're giving you free meals and a place to sleep, nope, that's out. And there was at one point a time where probation, and parole to a lesser degree, but probation was used as an and/or. Probation was, well, you can have a year of probation, stay out of jail, or you can do 2 months in jail. And quite frankly, with the way probation is nowadays, and what they do to you, and the financial hardship, a lot of people would be better off spending 2 months in jail. Then it's over. You know, your 2 months are up and you're out. But then this idea also, and this happens even more so with the parole system, is you're convicted of a crime, you serve your time, and you are never restored those liberties ever. Ever again. Especially if it's a felony. If you've committed a felony, you are never restored those liberties ever again. You've, in essence, been given a life sentence for what you've done. This is why I oppose the idea that a felon can't own a gun. Or a felon can't own certain types of businesses. Or a felon can't do certain things. Either that person is dangerous and they need to be behind bars still, or they have served their time and they have the same rights as the rest of us. It's a complete constitutional violation in any way you look at it. I mean, if somebody commits a violent crime and they, are convicted of this, and we know they aren't safe to be out on the streets, then by all means, put them in jail. Put these people in prison. That's where they need to be. But if they have been deemed to have served their time, then, aren't they afforded the same rights as the rest of us? And what do you guys think?
Honestly, Josh, it's been we've let you kind of run with a little bit of a monologue here for 5 or 6 minutes there. I can't disagree with anything you said. I really can't. It's not only wrong in any system that, of criminal justice. I don't think anybody in this room would say that the criminal justice system isn't necessary to running a functioning society. But the idea that once you've done the time for your crime, that it should no longer affect you in your standing in society if you've fulfilled your obligation thereby, I think is also flat out wrong. Quite honestly, I'm not a ban the box guy. Meaning, there was a big push in ballot initiatives to ban the ability for employers on applications to be able to ask in the employment application stage whether or not you're a felon. I'm not a ban the box guy because I do believe employment is entirely and purely a voluntary association agreement between a employer and employee. If as long as, unless of course we're going to enshrine somehow in the Constitution that one's felony status is a protected right that's none of your damn business, unless of course you're going to enshrine that somehow in law, I don't think it's unfair to ask that question. Especially in business when
I do.
Believe it or not, customers still find felons repulsive, and I can't necessarily put my business at risk by hiring a felon.
But how does somebody know that they're how does a customer necessarily know if somebody's a felon?
The internet never forgets, man.
Yeah, but I mean, don't, and that's a problem in and of itself. Don't we have privacy rights?
You've got privacy rights in the government that are routinely violated. Yes.
But if somebody goes to a restaurant and a restaurant hires a felon to be a cook or be a waiter or waitress,
No one would ever know. You're right.
so why would I that's why I don't think the felon question is a fair one.
Well,
Because it goes against your point too, Josh. If you did your time, but still, if you did your time and you did everything that was required of you to pay your debt, your quote unquote debt to society, then it totally goes against everything that what Josh just said.
You're not wrong. You're really not wrong. Maybe it's I don't have terribly strong feelings about this because it's one of those things that not a felon. I don't ever plan on becoming a felon, so it's never really going to bother me. So ignorance is bliss, baby.
Well, I think to make your guys' point, I think the only way it can be made is to bring up the most heinous of the most heinous crimes out there, because that's the only way the conversation can be had, which then in a way brings up the idea of the restructuring of what a felony should be. You know, if you want to go off this idea that you lose your privacy rights, I'm not saying I agree with this, but that you lose your privacy rights when you become a felon, that's fine. But then things should not be able to be deemed felonious when you have, I don't know, stole a car. You know, I'm not saying people should steal cars. But does someone who steals a car mean that they are not ever able to rehabilitate and that they're just going to go around, you know, stealing cars forever? No, it really doesn't. Now, I'm going to take it to the other extreme. Do I want convicted rapists being gynecologists? No. Do I want convicted child molesters to be school teachers? No. But this doesn't contradict my first point, because why are rapists and child molesters not in jail? These are the heinous crimes that quite frankly can't be rehabilitated. You know, these are those crimes. And those are the people that need to be sitting in our jail cells. But
Okay, hey, good chance to hear for a brief outlier. Death penalty for those people you've been talking about, you or nay?
I believe that the punishment should fit the crime, and a life for a life. So I believe that, personally, I support the death penalty, but I think it should be for first-degree murder only. That's you know, that's summing it up as quick as I can.
Sure, Adam, what about you?
I don't support the death penalty in any set of circumstance. So no.
And I don't actually support it either. I think a criminal justice system is inherently made up of imperfect people in order to be able to render a judgment so permanent and so irreversible as death. It would take perfect people in order to be able to render that who don't exist, who are uncorruptible, infallible. And since those people don't exist, I'm not willing to let that be a possible outcome of the justice system that I would, willingly be a part of.
And know what, Dorf, too, I actually really respect that reasoning for being opposed to the death penalty. And I have a feeling I would agree with Adams as well. Coincidentally, I'm the only extremely devout Catholic amongst the three of us, and I'm the one that's for it. Which goes against my, a tenet of my faith, but it's just how I feel. The issue I have with a lot of people who oppose the death penalty is I can't stand when people say, I don't like the death penalty because it costs more money to put someone on death row than it does to put them in life in prison. That isn't a fault of the death penalty. That's a flaw in the system.
Yeah, if that's a secondary bit of reasoning, fine. But if it's your primary reasoning, it's alright.
Yeah, I don't buy it. If you are, just simply opposed to the death penalty for the reasons you said, or because you just think no one has the right to take someone else's life, regardless of the reasoning, I support that too.
Yeah, and that's where my position lies on it. I mean, I don't think an imperfect state, let alone a state in general, should be, should have the
should
right.
Be given that right.
Yeah, to take away somebody's life. It's not.
So, guilty verdicts are rendered by a jury of your peers, which are the average population. Remember how dumb the average person is, and remember how dumb the average person who doesn't be able to find a way to get out of jury duty is. You really want super final decisions of ending someone's life being made by that crowd.
Well, ultimately, somebody's life or death within the criminal justice system, it resides with a judge. A judge can always overrule a jury, I know it almost never happens, but a judge can do that. A judge has the power to overrule a death penalty and give somebody life in prison.
Well, everybody's also there's essentially infinite appeals on that.
Sure.
But a large appeal process in any sort of
If you are convicted and you get the death penalty, then you're still probably going to be alive for at least another decade.
Probably. Another thing I think is worth pointing out here too is that you guys are making some excellent points about the system at hand, but this conversation is taking place largely in the abstract. So a lot of things we're saying the system is dumb because the system is dumb. And in essence, you have to be able to. I'm just simply saying that to say that a judge almost never overrules a jury. That's true. That is a very good point. But maybe it's wrong. Maybe they should. Maybe judges should overrule juries more often than they do. Maybe that's, when having a conversation in the abstract, it's okay to point out that, that's a flaw in the system that is being perpetuated by a separate flaw in the system. Something that is, I'm not trying to derail if you guys weren't done on that, on that part of it, but something that is in the Constitution, because a lot of things we're saying weren't directly in the Constitution, is the idea of cruel and unusual punishment. That is supposed to be banned in this country. And I think we have very much lost sight of what cruel and unusual punishment is. And one of the reasons I think that we've completely lost sight of that is the absolute terrorization in terrible places that our jails are.
Speaking of losing sight, I think we lost Dorf's camera feed in here too.
Okay, we still got his voice though? Okay, that's good. But I guess where I'm going with that is the idea that, okay, let's what's a nasty crime, Adam, but not necessarily a violent one. Let's stick with the car thing, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Grand theft auto, right? You stole someone's Ferrari and you wrecked it. So you've just done $100,000 worth of property damage and you stole someone's property. This is a big crime. Definitely a criminal act. You stole someone's automobile and you are going to jail. Now, if you believe that the punishment should fit the crime,
Adam, I'm going to call you back.
Okay.
should I keep going?
Yeah, keep
okay.
going.
If you believe that the punishment should fit the crime and that cruel and unusual punishment is something that should be abhorred, then I'll let the jingle carry through.
You got me again?
Yeah, we're good.
We're back. Hey, Dorf.
Just remember to share this frequently.
So basically, what I was saying is, if you believe that the punishment should fit the crime, and that cruel and unusual punishment is something that should be abhorred, and is not okay, as the Constitution states, and as most people would agree on paper that there should be no cruel and unusual punishment, isn't sentencing someone who stole a car, who had a stupid night, made a bunch of mistakes, isn't sentencing them to 10 years of being put in a box and sodomized by other people pretty cruel and unusual?
Yeah.
Because isn't that what our jails are? I mean, that's not a secret, right?
Well,
we all know that happens in jail.
Criminal justice system, or is that problem with for-profit jails where that sort of behavior has, especially in private jails,
I think it's
one and the same.
Yeah.
Honestly.
a problem with jail operations where, there is no essentially performance incentive for jails, especially those that are privately owned, which is I have a horrible problem with that itself. Is that a problem with there is no essentially performance incentive or anything written in their contracts with the state or federal government saying, hey, you need to make sure people don't get fucked up or, fucked.
Yeah.
Or, anything, fundamentally.
Physically be tortured, in essence.
Or, no offense, guys, you get paid.
it's
Your contract is.
It's both, because, and I think this is kind of what Josh was going to get at, but it's the prison system because it's like that, and for-profit jails because they are like that. First of all, for-profit jails is just it's such a ridiculous and shitty concept.
It's terrible.
To think that that's allowed, and I mean, it's not surprising that it's allowed in this country, in this system of government, in this system of society, first off, but it's a problem with the criminal justice system too, because they knowingly take on these verdicts and enact these verdicts and sentences and punishments against people, you know, knowing that this is what's going to happen to these criminals.
Right. In a
Quote unquote criminals.
in a completely controlled environment, such as a jail, such as how a jail is purported to be.
Yeah.
In a completely controlled environment, it's not that hard to make sure people aren't getting raped. It's not that hard to make sure people aren't getting the absolute crap kicked out of them. And we're not talking about like that fight you got in, after your baseball game when you were, after a softball game when you had a few too many pops in your 20s and that guy, knocked your tooth out. We're talking about an ass kicking like you've never had, or well, maybe you have, and I'm sorry for you if you are. But there's very few crimes out there that I believe a decent and suitable punishment for said crime is being raped. I don't either. I really don't. Maybe being a rapist, at the very worst, but that's not typically it. I mean, at this point, and by the way, when I say this, it should never be construed to downplay the atrocity that is a woman being raped. I'm not trying to downplay that in any way, shape, or form because it's basically the most heinous act that can be committed. But more men are raped in the United States of America than women every year.
If you include in prison stats, yes.
Right. And I am definitely including them, especially for the and it's that's the topic of the show, tonight. So personally, I know that this is a bit of a stretch, but the idea of a victimless crime to me is ludicrous. To me, there is no victim, no crime. You can say what you want about that. You can make an argument for civil infractions still based on that. But the idea that someone is locked in a box because they committed an act where no one was harmed at all, to me, is a travesty. It's wrong. I'm sorry. People say, what about the DUI laws? What about them? It's one of the main things I'm talking about. I mean, well, what could have happened? What could have happened? Well, right there, you're saying it didn't happen. So the idea that that man drove drunk and he could have killed someone. Okay, so I guess the exact same punishment should be applicable to someone sending a text, right? While they're driving, And again, this isn't me condoning stealing cars or driving drunk or anything else. It's not. These are but especially the driving drunk thing. That's a cultural issue. Cultural issue that they were doing a much better job of fixing through the use of PSAs in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s than the criminal justice system has ever done. They haven't done anything to help this at all. In fact, if you want to do the yay capitalism route, the introduction of Uber and Lyft has done more in the last 10 years to curb drunk driving than the criminal justice system has ever even considered doing. I mean, that alone has done so much more.
Are you trying to bait me or something?
No, not at all. Not at all, actually. No, not at all. I was actually just trying to play both sides of the left wing and the right wing ideals behind it, really, No, I'm not trying to bait you at all. I'm just saying that those are... It's truth, Those things have done more to help these things, I mean, the idea that this person needs to be punished because X could have happened is kind of ridiculous. That would be, I mean, God, imagine a guy working in a shop who, for 30 years running a forklift. I mean, how many times are you at some point going to hit the wrong thing and, oh my God, If somebody was under that pallet, it would have killed them. I mean, did they just commit a felony? Did they just commit a crime because they made a mistake? Even if it was a careless mistake? You know, I mean, every time you look down at your phone, every time you grab something out of your glove box, somebody could have gotten killed. You know, I mean, how many times is even the best drivers in the world, you're driving along the road and something happens and you make a mistake. And 9 times out of 10, actually 99% of the time, it's okay. You know, you screwed up and, oh my God, geez, what was I thinking, you know? Why would I grab that? If I wouldn't have looked up just at that second, I would have hit that person running across the street. I'd hit that person on a bicycle. I would have rear-ended this car with 3 kids in the back. You know, I mean, truth is, when it comes to things with automobiles and crimes that people have committed through automobiles, even when it sucks, you know, I mean, God, somebody's driving recklessly and they're not trying to kill someone. They drove recklessly and something bad happened. We've all done it. We've all done it. We've all had a tinge of road rage at some point driving down the road. And that could be a matter of life and death. The truth is, with automobile incidents, every one of us in the modern world gets into these 2,000 and 3,000 pound weapons every day of our life and cruises around in them. It's something we do. It's a part of our society. And the idea that you're going to lock somebody up because accidents happen, the tragedy already happened. I don't support causing another tragedy to make up for the tragedy. We're not in Hammurabi's law here. This isn't supposed to be eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But, you know, and maybe I go too far with it. You know, maybe I do. But I don't see why that's okay to lock somebody up. And especially to do what we do to them. You know, if we truly lived in a country where privacy rights were supported and you did the crime and you paid the time, did the crime, whatever, however that rhyme goes. If it was truly like that and they said, hey, 3 months in jail, dude, you know, boom, 93 days. I'm giving you the misdemeanor maximum, 93 days. Slam the gavel down. I'm tired of your crap. And then you were free to go afterwards? I mean, okay, well, you took away 3 months of that person's life. Maybe that's not such a terrible thing. But you didn't ruin it forever.
I mean, there's still problems with it, though. I mean, even.
Oh yeah, you'll still probably lose your job.
Well, no, yeah, that. But it's never. Nothing is ever egalitarian when it comes to sentencing, and I mean, it's always the upper class. Mm-hmm. It's always the elites in this country that end up.
Not just here, man. That's everywhere.
Oh, that's everywhere. But we are talking about our country in this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're talking about the United States. Hold on.
The distinction needs to be made because that's not something that's unique to the United States.
Okay, but still, just because it's everywhere doesn't mean it's not a problem. You look at what happened to what's her face, Felicity Huffman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tax fraud. She defrauded a charity, all because she wanted to get her dumb kid into college.
Right.
And I mean, how many millions of dollars were at stake in all of this? She gets 2 weeks in jail. Everybody knows damn well that if it was any one of us...
And she's not in one of those rapey, beady jails either.
No, she's going to be... Yeah, she's going to be in a day camp, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
When her 2 weeks is up, she's going to be on a probation, quote-unquote, in her mansion.
Right.
And she has to do, 250 hours of community service. Again, you get Joe Schmo out there doing that same exact thing. They're getting locked up for how many odd years, and how many thousands of dollars are they going to have to pay in fines that they don't have.
Huffman's got it.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying that she should have to pay $1 million, but
Oh yeah,
but she's got it.
yeah. But I mean, even you go back a little bit further too. How many bank executives spent time in jail for the financial crisis? I know people may say, "Well, that's not a victim. That's a victimless crime." Yeah. Go. Hold on. I'm Dorf. I'm not done yet, dude. Shut up. God. People will go and say that that's a victimless crime. It's not. Go tell that to the countless numbers of people who ended up having their houses foreclosed on because they sat there and they got tricked into getting into these faulty mortgages. While, you go and look at some of these other headlines. A guy spent 36 years in jail because he ended up stealing $50 from a bakery. I mean, where's the fairness in any of this?
Where's justice?
Where's the justice? What?
Robbery that he only got $50 though. That was like his third felony in an hour. Which is a perfect segue if you want to talk to about like 3-strike rules.
There you go. The status going there and continuing to state.
But and you guys are right to say that the Justice Department things, those were certainly not victimless crimes. They were definitely victims. I have family members who were direct victims of that of those scandals, and that can be bad. And just like I was saying earlier, I was trying to say that like stealing a car isn't, but stealing a car isn't a victimless crime. That sucks if you ever have your car stolen. That's
household level economic warfare for most people in this country.
right, absolutely. But go ahead, Dorf.
No, Adam, I was agreeing with you for the most part, but
Okay, well let me finish my point before you sit there and jump in.
but how much of what those bankers that you were advocating for the jail time for, how much of what they did was actually illegal?
Okay.
Letter of the law. How much of it?
Dorf, I'm not sure. Do you know for sure how many things they did were? Okay. Well, I'm going to question you on that. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you that everything that they did was completely and totally legal. But if that's, I don't have the facts in front of me, so we'll just have to leave it at that. Okay.
And the mortgages for those who couldn't afford it, the interest-only mortgages, were often the behest of the George W. Bush administration.
Okay. Well, like I said, you don't have all the facts in front of you. I don't have all the facts in front of me, so we'll go ahead and leave it at that.
And that's fine, guys. And there were probably some acts that were illegal, insider trading, things like that. The thing is with this Huffman case, not to dwell on that too much, but what's so ironic about that is that it's not like there aren't, and this is a segue from what Dorf is saying too, it's not like there are not plenty of legal ways for rich people to cheat the system, especially when getting your kid into college. There's plenty of legal ways that you can cheat the system by getting your kid into college. A college can accept whomever they want. So you can, and this happens all the time, donate an entire park to your college. Donate a beautiful monument that's going to sit on the campus, and boom, your kid gets into the college. But that's not even what Huffman did. She instead tried to lie, cheat, and steal, in completely illegal ways to get around this. One thing I think that sometimes people often misappropriate their anger towards, and I'm not trying to upset anyone when I say this, but I feel that a lot of people like to say that the system is racist. Now, I'm not saying there aren't racists within the system, but I don't think it is. I think the issue is the money. And yeah, a lot of black people, for instance, in the United States, are lower income and can't afford to do this, and they get screwed big time. Broke white people and broke people of all nationalities do too. But the idea I love to cite is, let's use Huffman and O.J. Simpson. They have nothing to do with each other racially, gender-wise, anything like that. They have one thing in common. They're both rich. That's it. rich people get off. They do. And to cite a time or two when rich people did get nailed proves nothing. It actually proves nothing because they got it. They got what they deserved, you know? That's was what was supposed to happen. So to say, oh no, but this rich person ended up going to jail. Well, yeah, you're supposed to go to jail when you commit crime X. You know? That's a thing. And look at Jeffrey Epstein. You know, I mean, convicted of very heinous crimes, and his punishment, I'm not talking about the most recent time, but his punishment before, in the 90s, or whenever it was, or early 2000s, was house arrest in his mansion.
What, Epstein?
Yeah.
No, he had to actually go to jail, but he got work release, so he got to go to his basically high rise penthouse office, and he had to spend the night in jail, but he got to leave during the day.
That's adorable. I mean, no, I mean, to me, you know, I mean, like, I'm sure he was wearing the tether or whatever, which, like, why would he want to leave? He's hanging out in his mansion all day. You know, it's a pretty cool life. But when you actually have to, like, have that tether on, and, you know, then, like, go to work every day, that's terrible. And it's, again, going back to the cruel and unusual punishment thing, you know, I mean, talk about just, that's the equivalent of being tarred and feathered in the old days, you know, to be forced to walk around with a tether on your foot. You know, it's the same idea. It's, you know, putting this person up for societal ridicule. And I don't think it's okay. You know, if people are dangerous, then by all means, convict them of the dangerous crime they committed. But if they're not, I don't see this idea. Same with the work program on the side of the road. That's not because they really need somebody to pick up litter on the side of the road. That's to humiliate those people. It's humiliating. And I don't think that's okay. I don't. You know, I am a person that...
Does that qualify to you, Josh, as cruel and unusual?
It does to me. Yes. It truly does to me. You know? I'd rather be in jail. You know? I would. And I've never had to do that, but I see those people, God, I'd rather be in jail. You know? And that's another thing where the rich people get off. Sometimes not even rich people. Maybe if you just know somebody or got a good lawyer, and you can get out of that by saying, "Oh, just have me, you know, can you just say I'll do my own charity work and write me off?" And you know, that's like what the rich football players get to do. They say, "Oh, wouldn't he be better served by, you know, giving lectures to kids instead of being on the work program?" Well. Oh, that's nice. That's cool. So because he was a rich football player, we're going to let him do that instead of wear the orange jumpsuit and walk around on the street and happen to, you know, maybe Uncle Joe or Aunt Susie happens to be driving by and think, "Oh, shit, is that my nephew over there? I didn't know he was a criminal." You know, that's what happens. It's not okay. You know, it's not okay. It's a humiliating practice, and the punishment doesn't fit the crime. You know, I mean, some of those people, depending on the city you live in across the United States, they might be guilty of something heinous as their dog was barking too loud. Or they got pulled over and I think I smell marijuana. And yeah, there's a roach in the ashtray. They may or may not have smoked it today. They may have smoked it last week. Might have been their buddy who, you know, left it in there, yeah. Or maybe he did. Maybe he was smoking a doobie while he was driving. I know. The worst thing on earth, right? And people are going to say, "Oh my God, that's terrible." It's like, you know somebody who does that. I'm sorry, but you do. Right. Like you're going to and that's so much of our culture is the feigning offense when you hear about a crime. Oh my God, oh, he got a DUI? That's terrible. What an asshole. It's like, okay. What's up? But it's just one of those things with the idea that you know somebody who's done that. You know somebody. Chances are nowadays you know somebody. Most people are going to know somebody who's gotten a DUI. But if you don't, you know somebody who's driven drunk and gotten away with it. And chances are that cop that arrested you, and that lawyer who's defending you, and that judge who's sentencing you have done it too.
Hell, I know a cop that pulled over an old guy for drinking, at an open container.
Mm-hmm.
This was on 275 here in Michigan, and asked him well, did you arrest him? No, I just told his passenger to, take over.
That's unusual nowadays.
Come on, man. Jesus Christ, if that was me.
There's somebody in my life who has been pulled over while driving under the influence, and she was told to, I'm either going to take you to a hotel or you're going to have somebody come pick you up, your choice. Arrest or, court. It was like at noon on a Tuesday. Never was a, middle-aged woman, never was an option of, going to jail now because driving drunk.
I know that used to happen a lot. I mean, in the 70s that was a thing, and I know people, old timers now who that happened 2 years ago. Just dump it out and go right home or whatever, But
DUI used to be until the last 20 or 30 years was a night in the drunk tank, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, and a ticket.
Yeah, small fine. Yeah.
Sure,
Wasn't it uncommon for Cletus or Skeeter to have 7 or 8 of them?
Yeah, or what's the who was here in Michigan, the Oakland County Commissioner for many years, Al Brooks Patterson. He's got half a dozen of them or something, from back in the day. He's dead now, yeah. And hey, I was actually kind of a fan of his. Dick Cheney had two DUIs in the 60s. You know how hard it was to get a DUI in the 60s? He must have been butt-housed. That didn't happen back then. George W. Bush has got one. It happens, people. I'm sorry. I'm not saying it should. I'm not saying that that it's right, but it does. And I'm sorry. I know cops, and I know cops personally who drive drunk regularly. I know cops who smoke pot. That's legal now in Michigan. That's cool, I guess. But, people do this stuff. And if you think you don't have anybody in your life that, pops a traveler on occasion on the way home from work, or who hits their vape pen with something a little more than just tobacco in it these days, you're probably lying to yourself. And you should maybe ask yourself, if you're one of those people that is for these strict penalties for all these things, you should probably ask yourself, it sounds good when you don't know the person. But if it's your brother or your uncle or your cousin or your dad or your sister, do you think it's that you want them to have to go through that? It's hard pill to swallow, but vast majority, still to this day, of people that drive while they're over the legal limit make it home safe just fine. Vast majority of people who hit a doobie on their way home from work make it home just fine. Vast majority of people who text while they're driving make it home just fine.
I'm guilty of that.
I'm just saying, it's out there, and I think people are so quick to want to prosecute and nail to the wall people when it's a nameless, faceless person.
Well, it's because there's cash involved in it. There's cash.
And that too.
There's cash for the state. If you sit there and you nail somebody for anything, anything. There was a cop in Florida that got busted. I know this was all over the news for planting drugs on people.
Oh yeah. Happens a lot.
You know, there's a quota, there's a profit that, you know, that gets the state and all of this and all of this stuff. So, you know, it's
And hey, you know what, guys? Go ahead, Dorf.
That's. I think it's time for like closing statements here, guys. But to add on your point, you know, just like we talked about earlier, for-profit prisons are bullshit. But I think honestly, guys, no, policing and law enforcement and crime and punishment, or whatever you want to call it, should not be something that should be revenue neutral or even be attempted to be revenue neutral. Policing for profit, whether or not people deny, there may not be an official quota, but officers, especially in smaller municipalities, know where their butter is breaded, or
Yeah.
where their bread is buttered.
mm-hmm.
They know that, you know what, if we don't get a certain amount of people, you know, a certain amount of revenue from traffic citations this quarter, Jim Bob, the new officer, is going to get laid off next quarter. That's just what we got to do.
And the only reason, and you have to assume,
That's wrong.
no, it is, and you have to assume the only reason why this officer in Florida was caught is because, you know, for all the money that he was bringing in through fines and you know, court costs and all that sort of bullshit, you had to have figured that based on the amount of drug arrests this cop was making, they saw it, they identified it, but they probably didn't identify it because it was completely in the wrong. Oh my God, this cop, what he is doing is so wrong and we cannot subject the public to this. No, I bet you a good portion of the reasoning behind this was because the county, the city, wherever this cop, you know, was employed at, they were afraid of a class action lawsuit.
Yeah, they were in trouble, so they picked a patsy.
Yeah, that they were going to lose. And that's the real reason. I bet. I don't have the proof in front of me. I'm just going off of, you know, my own opinion here, but I bet you that was the sole purpose.
Yeah, I don't know what X is, but if it had X never happened, that person would have been allowed to do that for 10 more years and then retire.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Know what, guys, and I think that's a question is, you know, listen, I know it may not sound like it when I talk, but I think most cops are good people. I think most judges are good people. Not going to throw lawyers in with that one. But cops and judges, I think most of them are good people. Not to say all lawyers are bad, but I'm not going to say most. Most are good.
No, we know a good lawyer.
Yeah, I know a few, one or two. But the problem isn't that they're bad people. The problem is they're true believers in a broken system. They think they're doing the right thing, but they're not. They're not doing the right thing.
Well,
they're ruining people's lives.
We know it's even worse, Josh. I don't even know if that's completely true. Some of them probably know it's a broken system, but still continue to, quote unquote, follow orders.
And that's the question that good people who are cops don't like to be asked. And yes, I've been the jerk at parties that asks this. But do you enforce laws that you think are unjust? And most of them, if they're being intellectually honest, are going to have to say, yes, I do. I have. And the other thing is, we know that most cops aren't bad. But if you're the good cop on the force, and you know of a handful of cops that are bad, and you do nothing about it, are you still a good cop?
No.
I think that's the question that people need to ask every once in a while. And, you know, you had said, Dorf, that we're thinking about, you know, closing statements here. I know that some of my positions on this are a bit radical. And maybe I should have said this in the beginning instead of the end. I'm not trying to actually change anybody's mind who's listening. Just think about some of the things that we've said here tonight, though. Just kind of think about them. No, we didn't. If you feel like jumping in on it, go for it. But,
yeah, let's close it out.
but you know, I think we've said some things that people need to think about, and you need to not think about it in terms of just the old, you shouldn't have done that then. You shouldn't have committed the crime. Well, I don't know, I mean, and in a society where more and more crimes, are made every day, you tend to make as right, and it's getting to the point where a lot of people, pretty much everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but there's a whole bunch of people out there who commit misdemeanors every single day. And you may not think you're one of them because you haven't thought about it in those terms. There's a good chance you are, though.
There's a pretty good chance if you drove a car today, you committed a misdemeanor.
Yeah, and I commit misdemeanors every single day.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, And not just civil infractions, misdemeanors, or something that could be deemed as such. You ever gone more than 15 miles over the speed limit? Yeah.
Dude,
I've driven with you, Adam.
I looked at the speedometer today, and I was doing like 95. I'm like, holy shit, man! I gotta slow the fuck down.
It's so much of that is so relative. I mean, okay, for instance,
And Adam, I bet I know what your commute looks like. I guarantee you weren't the fastest one there either.
No, probably not.
I mean, and anyone that's driven like multiple vehicles knows that so much of that doesn't matter. I have two vehicles that I use frequently. I have a 2000 Dodge Ram with a bashed up front end from a coworker of mine who wasn't paying attention about 6 months ago. That's pretty banged up, got a big ladder rack on it. It's got some issues. 70 miles an hour in that vehicle, that's the speed limit, but you don't really need to be doing 70 in that vehicle. You don't need to take that over 60. My other car is a BMW 5 Series. And you can easily look down at the speedometer and go, oops, I didn't know I was doing 90. and be driving very safely. It's, so many laws are made, are so abstract and so generic that, isn't that why we have judges, though? Aren't the judges supposed to be able to judge the scenario? And another thing we didn't mention tonight, and I know we don't have time, is the idea of mandatory sentences, which basically takes the judgment out of a judge's hand, where a judge has to say, well, I see what happened here, but the mandatory minimum is X, Y, and Z. Well, why is there a mandatory minimum? Why do we have a judge then?
It never hurts to be tough on crime in an election year.
I guess so.
Little bit of breaking news right now. The Israeli election still too close to call.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know is it just because it's a parliamentary system there? Is it just another parliament-wide election?
Well, I guess you have a certain amount of time to secure a government.
Mm-hmm.
And
the ruling party, whatever Netanyahu's party was, didn't get a straight majority, so they had to.
They need a coalition government. Yeah.
Yeah.
A coalition, and they weren't able to get one.
Yep. And it looks, I guess, early exit polls show Netanyahu narrowly losing, but they're also saying too that
Is it one of those the districts that we're never going to have reported in already, and the ones that are strong?
Well, I'm not completely sure, but they're also saying that that his opponent may not be able to secure a coalition government too. So,
Right.
I mean, the outlook for Israeli politics is still pretty foggy. Even when there is.
Two-party system is dysfunctional. I believe the Israeli parliament has something like 7 or 8 different parties that have seats in it.
Mm-hmm.
You think our Congress is dysfunctional?
Like we've mentioned on past shows, when it comes to the parliamentary system or our system, the grass is always greener on the other side. It's so easy for us to talk about how our system would be better if it was like so-and-so's.
In the UK right now, Boris Johnson, the leader of the Conservative Party, technically has a majority, but he's being put in a minority position when it comes to Brexit, where he's going to have to call for new elections again because he doesn't. Although he has a majority, he doesn't. It's weird.
I thought he said he was going to be able to settle this in 90 days, though.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. going to do it for a couple weeks so they can't pass any legislation to prevent him from pulling the hard Brexit lever. And everybody's flipping out, even though it's just playing by the rules of the game.
Queen's gonna say no.
I love that. I love that with British politics. Everything's like you got to do the air quotes, the approved by the Queen. Like she's gonna put down her mimosa and make the call. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be funny though if she says it
Yes. Yes, it would.
Queen Elizabeth, I don't think in her reign has ever said no to anything, even though she has like full veto rights.
Right. No, she is.
Has never done that in her entire reign.
Because it doesn't affect her one way or the other.
Neither did her dad. The last monarch to veto anything was Queen Victoria.
Yeah, it doesn't affect them one way or the other.
And I
They
believe
just
Queen
sit there.
Victoria in her long reign, I think used it once.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she was like vetoing everything all
She's
the
gonna
time.
put down her mimosa. Oh, there's an election. Oh, what?
I don't think she drinks anything more than tea.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wait, does
Does she drink anything more than tea?
spiking the tea? I mean, does that count as
Oh
something?
no, they're partiers, man. Did you hear about their bar bill at like the last royal wedding? I wanted to be there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah, they go nuts, man. Oh yeah.
Do you think they?
Anything else, guys? It's time to wrap this up. If you can't tell by the looking at the camera, my eyes look very tired.
Oh, wow.
So, well, whatever. Josh is dealing with a drive home. Anyway, anything else, guys?
No, I think we're good, man.
All right, I think it's going to wrap up episode
Thanks for hosting, Dorf.
15 here of EmpireRadio.com's Politics of the Empire podcast presented by Wildfire. Anyway, you can tell I'm rusty because we haven't been on the air in a while. We do not have the next topic picked out yet. We will get back to you on that. We'll try and find a way to get it out and announce before our next show. But tune in for that in about a month. It'll probably be this week, next month. So for Josh, Adam, Ryan, Dorf, we'll see you all next time.
Thanks.
See ya.